next guest is the nation's favourite brain box. It is the fabulous Mr. Stephen Fry, ladies and gentlemen. There he is. What, who? Large as life and twice as handsome. Now, Stephen, it's lovely to have you here. You've been away. I know you're here in the UK and we're going to talk about your play at the moment, but you've been filming the second part of the Hobbit series of films, haven't you?
That's right. Or what may now turn out to be the third part, or indeed the fourth or fifth. They seem to be stretching it out into infinity. But it was a small book that's become 3 films, and I'm not in the first, which is being released through Christmas. But I think I'm in the second. I'm going back next year to do another couple of months on it, so it may be for the rest of my life. I will be well, do send me Scott's porridge oats and, you know, peanut butter and British food, if you can.
Well, that's all we have time for. Shortest question I've ever asked someone, 20 minutes. Stephen Fry, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. OK, let's get my next guest out. He can write, he can act, he can direct, he can host TV shows, he can do just about anything. I would call him a Renaissance man if only I could pronounce it. Will you please welcome Mr. Stephen Fry? Well, thank you for comforting young Ryland back there.
Well, it was a pleasure, bless him. A little overexcited.
Hey, we have matching facial foliage.
Yeah, and suits and hair, and I nearly thought of wearing a green tie.
We could be brothers.
Yeah, we both decided against the Just for Men option as well.
Yeah, I'm letting mine go grey there. Do you trim? You have a little zzz to keep it down?
George Michael, okay. Yes.
George Michael. You don't do the thing where people have a cardboard shape over to trim it to a... Have you ever seen that?
No, you could do that.
You can do that. I've never tried it. What about downstairs? Do you do the chest, the armpits, don't you?
No, I don't.
You're fully flushed.
But there's not much there, to be honest. I'm not a Sean Connery. I don't have a hairy back or anything.
What about in the underpants department?
there's all that needs to be there.
OK. OK, now, I went to see Stephen in a play this week. And I sometimes am remiss in my duties and don't necessarily always go and see every film or every play or read every book. I try my best to. And I was a little reluctant because, of course, it's Shakespeare. Yeah. Stephen is currently to be found as Malvolio in the Bard's Twelfth Night at the fabulous Globe Theatre over in South London, where they rebuilt the Globe. Yeah. And I was a little but I thought, no, I'll go because I love Stephen and I want to see him perform. And I said to Stephen afterwards, and I'm not just saying this, I have never enjoyed a theatrical experience as much. It completely blew me away. I've been evangelical about it ever since. I've been telling everyone, you have to go and see this production. It's incredible. Yeah. And I imagine you're getting this kind of feedback from people. It has
been simply extraordinary. It is an incredible play in its own right. It's a remarkable production, I think. It's being put on at the moment at the Globe Theatre, and we're then moving to the Apollo in the West End.
So the Globe, of course,
the Globe.
Open air, and it's as Shakespeare intended, but it's not just in that way that it's as he intended, is it?
There's an audience of standees called groundlings in front of you who are literally standing all around you. You're in a sort of square, and they're all around you, known as the yard, and then there are 3 galleries of people sitting. And if it rains right on the groundlings, but it doesn't rain on the actors because there's a sort of wooden canopy over us. But it's exactly as Shakespeare's Globe was, as far as scholars can tell, in every detail. And that includes our costumes. I mean, my hat is made of hair fur, the fur of a hare, and everything's hand-stitched. There's no machine stitching, no Velcro, no zips. Everything's made.
But it's not just in the costume that it's as Shakespeare intended, of course, because all of the female parts...
Exactly, are played by men. And one of those men is, quite frankly, I think, probably the greatest stage actor in the world today. He's a phenomenon. He's got Mark Rylance. He doesn't do anything except stage, so you wouldn't know him from television and film. But if you're a theatre goer, you'll know that he won the Tony Award for his performance of Jerusalem. He's won so many awards.
Every award going
for Boeing, American Farce. He's playing Richard III, and he's playing the Countess Olivia in this. And I honestly tell you, if there's no other reason to go to the Apollo to see the play, it's to see this man. He really is phenomenal.
You know, I can't recommend it highly enough to the extent where I would resist going to see Shakespeare whenever possible, and I've seen performances I quite liked and moments I quite liked, but I like so much, I'm going back to see it again. Oh, yes. And it's changed my mind. I don't think Shakespeare's a dick at all anymore. I can actually see what people have said. I used to think it's all nonsense. You know, I see it's all loveys and nonsense, and they're just going on about it, and it's all, you know... But it's great.
It's simply phenomenal.
And the people, you said the Groundies, they stand for 3¼ hours to watch this, and no one looks bored.
No.
OK, let's talk about The Hobbit, because everyone's excited about this. Lord of the Rings, what a spectacular achievement, what a remarkable success. There were many people who said this can't possibly work, and it probably exceeded their expectations.
Yes.
The Hobbit, the first of the new films, is out next year, I believe. At the moment, they're planning to turn that small book into 3 films.
Yes, they are.
And I can understand why. You can see he's in love with that mythology and those kind of characters. And you will appear in the second of the 3, I believe.
In the second, I'm not sure about the third, because I don't know how it's been structured. Fran Walsh and Philippa Boyens and Peter Jackson, who write the scripts, have done an extraordinary job of basically sort of magnifying and elongating the whole, what Tolkien called, I think, his legendarium, this sort of world of creatures and their languages and everything else. And as most people know, it's all shot down in New Zealand, which is an extraordinarily exciting place to...
I've never been. Is this your first time there?
No, it's not. No, I've filmed there for wildlife documentaries and various other things.
Of course.
But it is... It's like... I mean, they're like Australians in New Zealand, only with best respect to Australians, without the kind of attitude, if you know what I mean. They're a lot softer and sweeter. And in fact, I remember meeting an Australian just after I got back from Wellington, and he said, "Oh, how did you find New Zealand?" I said, "Oh, it's just a wonderful place. I loved Wellington. And they're so nice." He said, "Yeah, but don't you think they're too nice?" Only an Australian would think someone was too nice.
Too nice. Now, I wouldn't have had you down as an extreme sports kind of person.
Oh, yes.
But I've been told that we have footage of you...
We had a bit of time off, you see, and the South Island promises these extraordinary, spectacular activities, one of which they kind of invented, which I took part in. And I was the last person to believe I would actually make this leap of faith.
And this is, of course...
the bungee jump.
So
it's the original bridge from which the first bungee jumps were commercially available.
Now, I wouldn't do that.
Well, you say that. I would have sworn to heaven that I wouldn't, but I somehow thought, well, I'm here. I was a guest of the wonderful Sam Neill, who has a vineyard very close by, and he said, "You've got to bungee jump. Everybody bungee jumps when they come to, you know, down to the South Island." And I said, "Well, yeah, everybody, but not Stephen. Stephens don't do things like that." And he said, "Yes." He sort of drove me off to the place, and this bridge, Hackett Bridge, where it first happened. And you find yourself... It's like a dream, you know, one of those nightmares where you find yourself where you've always got a choice, but you keep going, "Oh, I'll say no later." And then you're walking on the bridge, and I'll pull out of it in a minute, and then you're getting roped up. I'll pull out of it, and then it's around your ankle. I'll pull out of a bit, and then you go, "Whee!" You know? And then the extraordinary thing was, the moment I was finished, I was sort of hooked up and put in a boat. I said, "I want another go, I want another go, I want another go." And I immediately had... In fact, I had a 3-way with these 2 Welsh girls.
Hang on.
As it were. As it were. It was one of those spectacularly odd things that happens in life, was that you get weighed, because they have to know your weight, because the absolutely crucial thing, so you don't drown, it's over a river, is that they get you just... They can ask you if you want to go into the water, kiss the water, or just above the water. And they do this according to your weight, the length of and elasticity of the rope.
What did you choose?
So I chose just to go above the water for the first one and to kiss it for the second. Anyway, the girl who was weighing me, I said, just on a sort of conjecture, trying to be Professor Higgins, I said, "Yeah, are you from Port Talbot by any chance?" She said, "Yes, I am." "How do you know that?" I said, "Well, you sound so like Michael Sheen." "Well, I'm his cousin." I said, "That's ridiculous." And so I texted Michael Sheen, and I said, "I'm just talking to your cousin from Port Talbot," and said her name. And I said, "She's, you know, organising a bungee jump." And he texted back immediately, "Well, don't leave any clothes or personal belongings. They're thieving at swine, that family." Only Welsh cousins would talk about each other like that.
So you took her with you?
She had a North Walesian friend, and they said, "Can we come with you?" So I went on a second one.
Let's have a look at a clip.
3, 2, 1. Go, Steve.
Wow. You didn't commit.
No, I didn't, did I?
That's the first time I've seen someone not...
No.
Because people normally dive, but you kind of went down...
Second time I dove, as they say in America, but no, that time I just looked like a sack of, you know, I looked like a bin liner full of yogurt.
I guess terrifying... terrifying on the way down, I guess.
It's so exhilarating, I can't tell you.
Wow.
You've got such a natural high. I suddenly understand all these dangerous sports clubs and free running and all that kind of thing.
So would you do it again, do you think?
Oh, well, in a heartbeat. In a New York minute, as they say.
You know, I've got to mention, Stephen has a new series starting. I'm not sure, when does Gadget Man begin on Channel 4?
I think it'll be next year. I can't guarantee it, because we're still filming it, so I'd imagine it'll be next year. It might be the end of this year.
I had a lovely day. I was invited by Stephen to take part in Gadget Man, and this is where you look at all kinds of new, right across the spectrum.
But the different programmes sort of emphasise different things that we do in life that might need gadgets. Transport, you know, for example, was the one we chose with you.
What we spent most of the day doing was stuck together in a very small electric vehicle.
Yeah, the Renault Twizzly, I think it was called, or something. It was a tiny little electric car with big wheels and no roof.
Yeah.
It was a quite damp day.
You would have thought that one of us wouldn't get in on the run, but we're both fairly big gentlemen. We both squeezed in there, and we were in there for about, what, 5 hours?
Oh, yeah, you were in the back, which was really tough. We visited the Savoy Hotel.
Well, this is what I loved about it. You know, and you might think being stuck in a small electric vehicle all day with no legroom would be purgatory, but no, it was a delight because, of course, you're with one of the greatest storytellers in the UK. And when we got to the Savoy, you told me a story of such an extraordinary meeting. Yeah. I couldn't quite believe it. Would you mind...
No, I'll share that with you. For reasons we won't go into because it's too long, I was, and this sounds like the most appalling way to start a story, but in about 1989 I happened to be living at the Savoy Hotel. Sorry, but that's... anyway, so you get to know the staff, and the link men, as they're called, the fellows in the tall top hats that we might think of as doormen or concierges, link men. One of them said to me one day, he said, Mr. Fry, are you a fan of Frank Sinatra by any chance? I said, I am. I think he's an absolute genius. He said, oh, he's coming to stay in a couple of days. I thought, wow, God, I've been in the same hotel as Frank Sinatra. And then one day I was coming back quite late one night, and the same link man was on duty. He said, follow me. And they'd roped off the American bar, famous American bar in the Savoy. And there in the corner, sitting on his own, with a bottle and a glass of bourbon and a cigarette on, was Frank Sinatra. And the link man said, Mr. Sinatra, this is Mr. Stephen Fry, who's one of our regular guests, who's a promising young actor. And Sinatra pointed to a chair and said, sit down, kid. He called me kid. He called me kid. I thought, I'm in heaven. And then, in about 30 seconds later, 20 people came in. And so I only had about 30 seconds with him, but it was still marvellous. So a couple of days later, I see the same link man, and I said to him, I have to say, I will thank you for the rest of my life. You introduced me to... I can say to anybody, I met Frank Sinatra. He said, oh, it's fine. I said, is he still here? He said, no, it's quite funny, actually. He just left. As he was going, he pressed this huge roll of money on me. It's £20 notes, a great big roll of money. I said, thank you very much, Mr. Sinatra. It's very kind. He said, tell me, is that the biggest tip you ever got? I looked down at it and I said, well, no, as a matter of fact, it isn't, Mr. Sinatra. And he looked most put out. And he said, well, who gave you a bigger one? I said, you did, sir, last time you stayed. You realise how brilliant these guys are. Both went away happy. Sinatra thought, I'm still the most generous guy in the world. And he knew, the link man, the next time Sinatra stayed, if he did survive to stay another time, he'd get an even bigger tip. Even bigger tip. Yeah.
What a fabulous story. What marvellous company. Mr. Stephen Fry, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. Magnificent. Great fun. Stephen Fry.